I was offered exclusive access to a new demo for an upcoming indie game, Astra Fading Stars. Spotting that Metroidvania tag and seeing some screenshots reminiscent of Hollow Knight, I couldn't turn it down. There is a playable demo up on Steam. The one I played just had some extra content, so you can still check it out yourself for free. Nonetheless, on with the video. I'll start by saying that overall it was a fun demo, and most of my problems with it are just tiny polished things that I'm sure the dev team, Dimension Omega, just haven't gotten around to, since it is a demo after all. Small things like sound effects being oddly quiet, at least for me. Setting my volume so that the music was at a reasonable level, the attack sound effects were very quiet or even non-existent, which made my attacks have little impact when hitting versus missing, so they felt empty. I could have turned down the music in the audio settings and then turned my main volume up, but the default settings should definitely be tweaked. Other tiny nitpicks would be things like the lack of a death screen, and by that I mean when I die I pretty much immediately respawn and the music cuts abruptly. This is probably something they're aware of and haven't gotten around to though. The screen should fade to black and have a little message while the music fades out, then I respawn. The game also quickly introduces a parry mechanic that I struggled to get the hang of. I personally don't like parrying in games, but I try not to let that affect my view of the mechanic here. I just didn't find that there was a lot of feedback when correctly timing a parry versus missing the timing, so I wasn't really sure if I was doing it right. Something about it feels off. I'm not sure if it just needs a stronger effect they haven't put in yet or what. Nonetheless, most of my complaints are tiny things like this that I can easily look past since it is a demo. Moving on to the actual meat of the game, it's a 2D platformer, so of course, the platforming mechanics are absolutely paramount to its success. You've watched me go on and on about the way platforming feels. It's obviously pretty important to me. And Astra felt great, and by that I mean it feels a lot like Hollow Knight, like I would be a little surprised if it wasn't at least partially inspired by Hollow Knight. It has the two main aspects of Hollow Knight's platforming, a high jump height and a long hang time. This makes the character feel a little floaty, but in my opinion, Hollow Knight, and Astra for that matter, has it dialed just right because they allow you to move a lot in midair. A character feeling floaty isn't necessarily a good thing. It can mean they feel weightless and empty, but Hollow Knight and Astra have it just right for me so that you have a lot of time in the air and your time spent up there feels precise. For Hollow Knight, this is very important as a lot of the combat happens up in the air since there are a lot of flying enemies. Astra is the same deal, and the majority of this demo is filled with flying enemies as well, so it also works. One thing that it does do differently is the mechanic called Astral Call allows you to hang in the air even longer. The mechanic isn't really meant for platforming, it's a parry and also for opening things, which I thought was interesting, but what confused me a little bit was suddenly having more abilities. I'm not sure if I just wasn't paying attention, but somewhere near the end of the demo, I suddenly realized that I had a dash, wall climb, and spell projectile. At first I thought I had them the whole time, but I started a new save to check and they weren't there previously. They're not really mentioned much in the demo and they're not even present in the control settings, which I found perplexing. I'm assuming that I was just given all of these as a test and that in the actual game they'll act like Metroidvania-esque keys that you unlock and will allow you to advance to new areas. Anyway, as for the abilities themselves, I thought the spell was cool. Casting it actually takes away some of your health, but that amount can be quickly regained by attacking enemies. I didn't like the wall climb ability at first, but when I booted the demo back up to see why it didn't feel right, it felt completely fine, so no comment I guess? I also don't have much of a comment on the dash either. Both features are pretty textbook by Hollow Knight standards. And yes, I'm going to compare everything to Hollow Knight as I do feel this game is certainly inspired by it. Some may see a problem with that, but I do not. Now to be fair, Hollow Knight is one of my favorite games of all time, probably tied for number 1 with Half-Life 2, and Chrono Trigger floats around that area as well. The platforming isn't the only thing worth comparing with Hollow Knight. The atmosphere and backgrounds are also pretty similar. For the demo anyway, this area reminds me a lot of the Forgotten Crossroads. However, looking at the Steam page, there are other areas that don't look as reminiscent of Hollow Knight. Some also give me Ori and the Blind Forest vibes. I think overall the game will be Hollow Knight inspired, but certainly not a ripoff. It feels like it will definitely have some unique aspects. While the core of the combat seems similar, the attacks themselves aren't the same. Your basic slash attack has a bigger range and just an overall different feel. You can also throw your weapon as a sort of yo-yo attack, which was pretty cool. It didn't seem like this attack did a whole lot of damage, but it still felt good to use. My only problem with it really is that you double tap the attack button to throw it, which led to me throwing it when I was just trying to mash the attack button to get as many hits in as quickly as possible. Just rebinding it to another button may serve the player well. I really liked the atmosphere and backgrounds. The interactable elements were obviously so and looked nice. The effects like Astral Call felt impactful and just looked cool. The player character also looks very nice. Their animations flow very well, especially with her coat flapping behind her. Her animations feel responsive and impactful, like I'm actually controlling the character and she has weight in this world, which is fairly basic stuff but very important to get right. My only complaint is a comparison between the player character and the NPC you meet. Their art styles do not really match. The player character has a lot more detail, while this one NPC is blobby and fairly basic. I'm not sure if this is a placeholder sprite, but it looks a little amateur in comparison to other things in the game. An amateur looking style isn't even necessarily a bad thing. What matters to me is consistency. That's what creates a distinct style that ties the whole game together. I won't claim that the art in Rutabaga Desert Storm is a masterpiece by any means, like, at all, but I would argue that there is a distinct and consistent style. Looking at the Steam page though, it seems other NPCs have similar detail to the player character, so my assumption is that this NPC is a placeholder sprite or is meant to be changed later. Either way, a little more detail consistency will go a long way. Other than that little nitpick, this game doesn't feel like an amateur project to me. This demo has features I wouldn't really expect, like working menus, multiple save slots, and even control remapping. This is the kind of stuff that a lot of indie games don't put a lot of time into or skip entirely. Menus weren't exactly something we put a lot of thought into in Rutabaga Desert Storm, and I think it somewhat shows. I don't think it detracts from the gameplay much, but already having these features working and looking nice in a demo goes a long way in showing dedication and attention to detail in the project. Overall, I think this demo shows a lot of promise, and I look forward to seeing the game's full release. Might give us some Hollow Knight-esque gameplay while we're waiting for Silksong, which I won't clown on about right now. Anyway, I'll link the Steam page and dev in the description below as always, and thanks for watching.